Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast. We're here to help develop fleet and transport professionals. Do you want to progress and develop your skills and knowledge? We promise to bring lively conversation and debate around interesting issues and keep you bang up to date with changes in our awesome industry. The Fleet Geeks are a community of professionals, and if you enjoy the podcast, why not join the discussion for free in the Fleet Geek community over on Facebook?
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Fleet Geeks podcast. I'm here to speak today about social media auditors and what to do when you get audited. Not when you get audited like how we do at Flagship, so we do operator compliance audits. I've noticed increasingly more and more social media auditors with drones attending some of our clients and other prospective transport operators. Now, there has been some guidance released by the National Protective Security Authority, because there is a chance that these drone auditors, when they come and audit your facility, to highlight poor behaviour and poor standards with your people. And I'm not confident that operators are giving their people and their security enough support and information prior or preempting a potential audit by a drone operator. So at the moment it's quite a small thing, but it's starting to increase. And what we're noticing is that it's individuals will attend business premises like warehouses and truck operations, anywhere with a big yard and security gates, and they'll be capturing staff and property using a camera on a drone. Now, there's other terms like citizen journalists and social media auditors, but they tend to be called auditors in this sense. Now, what they do is they take advantage of understandable concerns from personnel and security for staff and premises when people are being photographed and filmed. Now, understandably, it'd be normal for your staff to be concerned about that. Now, what happens is the whole purpose of auditing, the only reason it's popular on social media is because of the reaction that it invokes and elicits from your people. So it's worthwhile spending some time doing some training and development around your people about how best to handle how best to handle it when auditors do attempt to provoke them. Generally speaking, the auditors will be well versed in their rights, and one of the issues is that our staff, our people, our security will cite legislation incorrectly, and that may cause some challenges, and sometimes it can, there can be violent or offensive behaviour that is created off the back of your well-meaning and well-intentioned security staff trying to tackle auditors. So the whole principle behind it is to try and catch people out. And in my opinion, I think that's unfair. But the challenge is it makes interesting social media footage, and I'm seeing it increasingly on HGV forums, on truck driver forums, and that kind of stuff. So generally speaking, auditing is mostly harmless, and the amount of compromising information gathered by filming vehicles, personnel, equipment, and facilities is generally pretty minimal. Okay, it typically tend to arise when your staff and security engage in a hostile manner, when they then become or quote incorrectly legislation, or they say things that aren't necessarily true, they'll be highlighted by the auditor who's looking for those mistakes and will then mock your team members when they're essentially just trying to do their job, which makes for good social media footage. The general public find that interesting to watch, and obviously it's not ideal from a corporate branding perspective either.
Hello, it's Shani from Flagship Partners. We are really proud to sponsor the Fleet Geeks podcast. If you need expert advice or training for your fleet business, make Flagship Partners your first choice. We are really excited to announce the launch of our Transport Manager Academy with expert development for fleet leaders, We offer fully accredited Initial Transport Manager CPC training, CPC refresher, and operator license awareness training, as well as mentoring, support, and professional development beyond the qualification. Our vision is to develop elite fleet professionals.
So auditors themselves say that they may not have a hostile intent, but the content they create and post online could be viewed by people as being genuinely hostile, and it conveys an air of unprofessionalism potentially from your organization. So we need to watch out for it. Okay, so one of the suggestions in the guidance is around making sure understanding the role that security play during an audit process. And unsuspecting members of staff will have been approached when entering or exiting their workplaces, and auditors rely on people being confused, intimidated, and it's important to try and raise that level of awareness amongst your people in your organization. And it's my suggestion is that your staff remain polite and professional when responding to a situation when someone is being recorded on their premises. And when engaging, remembering your first words will often dictate the tone of that conversation and how that's going to go. And obviously you are on camera, right? So the suggestion is to take what's called a calm approach, which means to chat. So C is to chat, A is to assess, L is to limit, and M to monitor is the guidance that's been provided by the MPSA. So it's that's the sort of strategy. So chat. So for example, obviously as a security person or a security professional, it is your job to understand who's at the gates. It's to understand making sure that the premises are secure. So make sure that we engage with suspected auditors in a friendly manner. A professional greeting will often work better than a more confrontational approach. So something like, how's it going today? I was curious about what you're doing out here. Our control room noticed you around the area and have asked me to see what you're doing and if you need any help. The goal of auditing is to generate controversial content. Okay, so a friendly opening will minimize the risk of creating anything too controversial. The A part of calm is to assess. Confirm the suspected auditor's intent while continuing to evaluate for other potential threats they might pose or may provide a distraction for. Auditors will often either identify themselves as social media auditors or state they don't provide a reason, they don't need to provide a reason to film. If they do provide a social media account, it'd be a good opportunity to record it so you can check footage back later. If you feel that the auditor's behaviour may represent a genuine security risk or feel there is a risk of personal information of staff to be misused, the guidance is to call the police and speak to the police and get them to make a decision around the next steps. At least that does also provide intelligence, letting them know. But there is a potential that they'll say there's nothing they can do. The L is around limiting. So thirdly, aim to keep interactions with auditors as short as possible and maintain your security presence. Auditor activities rely on generating and maintaining negative encounters. So by limiting interactions and minimizes the scope for their negative content, and therefore it will be less popular and it will get less views anyway. Everyone interacting with auditors should be particularly mindful of avoiding the use of inappropriate or offensive language. Okay. And M is to monitor. Okay. So lastly, you should continue to monitor auditors to ensure that they don't escalate into a threat. But monitoring can be done from a distance. Avoid unnecessary encounters if you're able to do so effectively. And if escalation does occur or you have any concerns, you should obviously notify the police at that point. There are no powers prohibiting the taking of photos or videos in a public place. Therefore, members of the public should not be prevented from doing so. There can be uncertainty around what areas of property are private and publicly owned. So we just need to make sure that the auditors aren't gaining access to private property, they tend to have a hostile intent in the way that they create their content. So we just need to be mindful of that. Professional security culture is really important. So we need to make sure that we promote that. Okay, so there's some guidance online. Hopefully this podcast has been useful. If it hasn't done anything other than just alert you to the situation, because if you do run a warehouse, if you run a large premises with trucks and people and those kinds of premises, they're obviously of interest, particularly if you've got security and those kinds of things, and you might be the next person to be audited. Okay, so the guidance is out there, the NPSA guidance. Do check that out online, and I'm hoping that next time, if one of you get audited, then the content will be pretty boring because you'll be handling it in a professional manner. Anyway, catch you soon.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please share with your friends and colleagues too. Join us for free on Facebook with the Fleet Geeks community for transport and fleet managers. Fleet Geeks offers ongoing professional development, networking and mentoring too. So get in touch with me, Pete Rushmer, on any social media platform to find out more.